Both of these laptops have 14-inch screens. But when I open them up, they look vastly different. That's because the one on the left has a 4:3 aspect ratio screen, and the one on the right has a 16:10 screen, or 8:5. And as you can see, screen size is not the only thing they have in common. I also installed the same operating system on them. For some reason, the screen of the laptop on the right, ThinkPad T410, flickers a lot more on camera, unless you put it at its maximum brightness. The one on the left, T60, doesn't flicker as much on camera, even though the brightness is not all the way up. But just for comparison, we'll turn up the brightness on both of them, and the T410 has a brighter screen. Color reproduction is also a bit different on the two screens. The T410 seems to have a bit more saturated screen, but comparing with my more modern laptop with IPS screen, the T60 seems to be more accurate at reproducing colors. Maybe it won't be easy to notice on camera, but the screen on the T60 seems a bit more yellow, and I don't have any programs like Flux running at the moment. Overall, both screens are acceptable. The T60 has slightly lower pixel density, so everything is a little bit larger. It has 1024 by 768 resolution, while the T410 has 1280 by 800. Both computers have 4 GB of RAM installed, but the T60 can only recognize 3 GB, even if you use a 64-bit operating system. While the only limitation on the T410 is that there's a 32-bit operating system installed. And so Windows XP sees 2.92 GB. The T410 can have up to 8 GB of memory, but to have more than 2.92 you have to have a 64-bit operating system. So what was the point to install Windows XP on these two computers, since it's been out of date for years now, even the POS ready version? Well, the T60 is designed for Windows XP, so that operating system runs great on it, but since it's such a powerful computer for the time, it can even run Windows Vista 7, 8, and 10 with no problems. However, my T60 is with the ATI graphics, which does not offer updated drivers for anything newer than Windows 7. So, on the T60 with ATI graphics, the newest operating systems you can run properly are Windows 7 or on modern Linux distributions. Those run great with the open source ATI drivers. Speaking of the T410, that computer was designed for Windows 7. However, Lenovo provides drivers for pretty much everything on Windows XP, so that also runs very well on this computer. However, it's a bit of a waste, since you can install Windows 10. As I've shown in my other video, Windows 10 runs great on this T410. Right now on the T60 there's a 7200 RPM drive, while on the T410 there's a slightly slower 5400 RPM drive. I defragmented both of them just before making this video. There are a few more programs in my T60, but pretty much the same startup applications. So let's try rebooting them now and see how long it takes. We'll shut down and then start up at the same time. And we have an error about something on here. SVC host, the memory could not be read. And now let's try starting up. So T410 is a little bit faster, even though it had a slightly slower hard drive. I installed them both with ThinkPad T61 restore disks. which may actually be more convenient than the T60 discs because you only need a CD and a DVD, or 2 DVDs if you want, while the T60 discs require 7 CDs. But one thing I wanted to try is a benchmark. Of course, the T410 is going to perform better, but we'll see how big of a difference it actually is. So we'll wait for it to load. And so far, just on the main screen, on the T60, those graphics are running at about 110, 115 frames per second, while on the T410 it's at 140, 145. So let's run the benchmark and see what happens. So there we have it. But let's not look at the overall score and look at the specific scores on the right. The only one that's significantly better on the newer computer is the CPU. It's almost twice as much as the other one. Graphics are very similar. I don't know if the ATI graphics on the T60 is really good or the Intel graphics on the T410 is really bad. Memory has a slight improvement, DDR2 versus DDR3. And the 7200 RPM drive I have on the T60 is better than the 5400 RPM drive that's on the T410, even though neither of them are anywhere near as fast as an SSD. Not sure why this one is grayed out, but it has a score anyway. Can't submit because I'm not online. So there you go. Pointless comparisons between two computers that could run newer operating systems just fine, but are also capable of running the older versions if you really wanted to. I think the only point of running XP on these computers is if you have newer ones. But on the T410 on the right, I'm gonna put the SSD that I had before, which has Windows 10 and works really well. While the T60 is still my testing computer for now. Maybe you saw the boot menu while I was restarting. I had the Linux on another partition. Right now I'm testing MX Linux because I've heard of it quite a few times. Don't have much to say about it, but it seems to be running okay. Of course, I could have installed the same Linux distributions in both computers, but I wanted to try XP on this computer that is quite new for it. Surprised it worked as well as it did. Anyway, I think that's about it. Thank you for watching.